is Dave at Consular Education's Behaviour Ninja channel and the home, of course, of the Behaviour Ninja app. Links below if you're interested in looking at that. It is downloadable for Apple and for Android. I'm just having a kind of easy day and enjoying some winter sunshine, and I was pondering the idea of habits, and I thought I'd share that with you guys. I'm thinking about habits that people get into, teachers and students, and we're going to kind of reflect on that a little bit. And of course, you will all know that habits are formed by repetition of the same actions or processes until they become embedded as habits in that sense. Now, if we look at children, some children may step into the school system having already formed habits. So a typical one, I suppose, that we talk about is, the child who throws a tantrum to be able to get their own way. And that has been reinforced because in the past, when they've thrown a tantrum, they've gotten their own way. They've gotten the biscuit or the sweet or the toy or whatever it is they want. And perhaps in the past, parents have attempted to resist that, and so they've upped the ante with the tantrum. They've taken it up a level, and the parents have caved in at that point and given them what they want. So they've actually reinforced and reaffirmed that behaviour works. You achieve, you get success with that behaviour. So it becomes an established habit because the child does it repetitively. And then, of course, they come into school and you need that to change. And so you can kind of, butt up against each other in terms of the child has that habit. And we know habits are hard to break. You're in the habit of having high expectations, and you're certainly not going to break that habit. So there's cause for friction there sometimes. So yeah, students can certainly be in habits like that, and as they get older, how that habit might manifest itself, particularly for children who have complex needs or children who are a little bit anxious, for example. If they want to be out of your class, and that can be for lots of reasons. They might be having a belligerent day, they might have had an argument with somebody at home and feel quite stressed. They might not have done the homework, they might feel really anxious about their inability in your subject when the rest of the class are achieving quite well. Lots of reasons for it. But if a child uses certain strategies, maybe behaves in a manner that's unacceptable, and as a result is ejected from the room, and that happens often enough, that can become their default setting for any stressful situation and can become a habit in that way. And equally, if you as a teacher are somebody who knows that and you're quite happy with it actually, because you would rightly say, you know what, this gives me the opportunity to work with the other 29, then that can become a little bit of an unholy alliance, in the sense that the child wants to be out of the classroom, perhaps you want them out too, and that works in both of your short-term favours. So typically we can find students out of the room within 3 minutes of a lesson, and it's something that we need to be very cautious of, because of course habits are hard to break, and we don't want to spend an entire career with those kind of habits. Not good for anybody. So that's I suppose in lots of ways the negative side of habits, but habits of course can be good for us. If you're in the habit of going out for a run 5 times a week, for example, I'm sure that will have lots of long-term health benefits, and that's a habit to get into. If you are in the habit of having high expectations in your classroom and that is embedded with you, again, that's a good thing. And that's why we see, and primary teachers are superb at this, and I don't know why more secondary teachers don't try this, because it's really useful to develop routines, and we can introduce routines to children, and we explain what that routine looks like. Perhaps you have a routine like meet and greet at the door, how to come in the classroom, or whatever it is, moving from the desks to the reading area, or whatever it is. You have a routine for those kind of transition times, if you like, and that's a good thing to have. But the wise teacher, the ninjas amongst us, will then spend time training the children towards those routines. Why? Because if you say you have a routine and then things are just done in a very kind of wishy-washy ad-lib sort of way, then you haven't actually got a routine. And often teachers will talk about the norms of their classroom, but they haven't trained the children to the norms of their classroom. So what they see and perceive as these are my norms, and what actually happens in the class, which is your real norms, can be two very different things. And that can be often because we haven't embedded routines, we haven't caused those routines to become habits. So yeah, it's really useful for us to ponder what habits actually look like and what they mean and how they feel and so on. So really get curious about habits in our classroom. So let's just spend a little bit of time then thinking about the urges with habits to stay with what we currently do, and that can be great if you've got good habits, of course, but it can be a problem if you haven't. So what I'd like you to do, and I need you to kind of follow me here, so what I'd like you to do is just clasp your hands the way you normally do. So if you just do that for me now. Okay, now if you look at my hands, my right thumb is over the top of my left, so I'm going to swap those, and then I'm going to swap each subsequent finger all the way to the pinkies. Okay, so if you just do that now. Now, I suspect that there will be people watching this video who are saying that feels awkward, it feels weird, it's uncomfortable, I don't like it. Okay, so take your hands away, go for folding your arms. So if you can all fold your arms the way you normally fold them, please, for me. Right, now this is the way I normally fold my arms. So my right arm is over the top of my left forearm into the crook of my left elbow. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to swap that over. So if you give a go at that too. Now, I'm betting that some of you did this and ended up back where you were, and some of you just kind of really struggled to even do it. Okay, those of you that got there from your usual position to an unusual position will probably feel like it feels strange and awkward and weird. Okay, so let's explore that then and what that means to us as educators then. So it will have felt uncomfortable. That's quite common when we change our habits in the classroom. And when I'm coaching teachers one-to-one, I work very hard to help them to overcome that sense of, I know I need to change my habits, but it's uncomfortable to do, in the same way that changing from there to there is uncomfortable. Equally, some teachers that I get the opportunity to coach will have the best of intentions to change their habits, and when they take their eye off the ball, they suddenly find themselves doing what they've always done and getting what they always get, of course, which is a bit like, you know, when you try to change the way you fold your arms and find yourself doing it the way you always did it anyway. That just kind of happens almost subconsciously, I suppose. It's because it's such an embedded habit. So, you know, we really need to consider that, because it will be a challenge to change any bad habits that you've developed, which is why it's so important, of course, for new entrants to the teaching profession to start by forming good habits, you know. So you know, good habits like meet and greet at the door, good habits like embedding routines properly, good habits like if you say something is going to happen, you make sure it happens. If you say you're going to introduce a technique, you're going to introduce a reward system or whatever it is, and then 3 weeks later you're not doing it anymore. That's not a good habit to get into. It's a good habit to say what you mean and mean what you say. So these are the kind of things that are really important for us in terms of establishing who we are and establishing our norms. And remember, the norms in your classroom, and they're developed through habit forming behaviors. The excuse me, the habits that you get into, the norms that you create, they are not what you say they are. They are what actually happens in your classroom. So, you know, maybe have a little bit of a look at how things are going in your class. Think about what you want the norms to be, and then develop those routines that allow you to be able to form new habits. Because if we know that habits are hard to break, and that sounds like a problem, then habits that are hard to break is also the solution. We just need to train our students and ourselves, of course, to develop and embed new habits. Okay, so yeah, that's just a little snippet, I suppose. I hope that's useful to you. If you've got any questions, comments, add them below, of course. If you want to know a little bit more about how habits work, and you want to develop particular habits for certain problems that you have, more than welcome to ask those questions below. As always, like, subscribe, and share with other colleagues, please. And perhaps I'll have a look at putting a video on very shortly that will kind of demonstrate how the Behaviour Ninja app works as well, if that's something that interests you. Okay, until then, take care, and remember, everybody can become a Behaviour Ninja.